Hello, my stamping friends. My name is Holly Peterson, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Today, I'm going to show you a neat way to gift cash. This one is designed for Christmas, but you could certainly make them for any occasion. And I believe this little box they call a Christmas cracker. So I've made a little pull tab, and I've rolled up some cash. This would make great stocking stuffers for your grandkids. But yeah, it's just a real neat way to give a gift of cash. And what I've done is I've just used temporary adhesive, and I've taped all of these bills together. And I found it works best if you put adhesive on the back of one and the front of another. It just makes it so that it doesn't catch when you're pulling it out of the little cracker box here. So I'm going to show you how to make it. With one sheet of cardstock, you can make 2 of these crackers, but we're going to score the whole sheet so that it would just be save time to score the whole sheet and make 2 crackers. So this is 8.5 by 11, and I got these measurements off of Connie Stewart's blog. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was a while ago, but I did find the dimensions for this cracker box on Connie Stewart's website. So with the 8.5 on the top, we're going to score at 1, 1.5, 1.5, and 2 from each end. Now with a scoreboard, you could do it. I'll tell you what the measurements are here. So we're going to do 1, 1.5, and 2. And then that would be 6.5, 7, and 7.5. If you wanted to score all the way across. So 1, 1.5, 2, 6.5, 7, 7.5. Then you're going to turn it on to the 11-inch side, and you're going to score at 1.25, 2.5, 3.75, and 5 from each end. So we'll turn that around and we'll do 1.25, 2.5, 3.75. Oops, I scored that wrong. That should be 2.5 there. So 2.25. I'm going to flip this over, and on my 2.25, I'm just going to score that again, and that'll help erase that score line. Okay, so 1.25, 2.5, 3.75, and 5. And then you will cut this at 5.5 from on the 11-inch side. I'll go ahead and do that. We're done with this scoreboard. You can also score it on your paper trimmer if it's easier. So then we would just take this at 5.5 and cut. So then you have cardstock cord scored for 2 of the little boxes. Okay, The next thing we want to do is fold all of the score lines. I will leave this up there. I'll cut that advertisement off the top there. So there's our directions. Okay, so you want to definitely use your bone folder, and we're going to fold on all of the score lines. Okay, the next thing you want to do is to make the box fold in, you need to cut little holes on the side here. And I did not write that down. I think it was, if you have the envelope scoreboard, the envelope punch board, it is, if you line this edge up at 1/2 inch, you're going to fold over, let's see. I'm going to start with the bigger end instead of the small end. I'm going to fold that first one over, line it up at 1.5. And you're going through 2 layers of cardstock, so it is a little bit hard. But then you're just going to fold the next one, line it up at 1.5. And 1.5. Fold over this little one. You want that one at 1.5 as well. You definitely have to eat your Wheaties on that. And then on the other end, it's just a single punch at 1.5. Okay, if you don't have the envelopes punch board, then you can use a punch. I thought I got that out. Here it is. This is the heartfelt hexagon punch. And basically what you're doing is you're going from this score line to this score line. So let me show you over here. I guess I need to do this other end, don't I? So you can put this through, and I can see the score lines here and here. You would pull it so that you're punching just between those score lines. Like that. Okay. I think I'm going to finish it on the envelope punch board. See if it makes a difference on this punch here. Okay. And then we'll do this single one here. Okay. Now that the hard work is done, this skinny strip here is where your adhesive is going to go. And so you're basically going to just fold that up and then fold this over. I like to make that my bottom. So then that makes this my, well, let's add the designer paper and then I'll show you. We need to cut a hole in the box for the money. So let's adhere the designer paper. And I'm using retired designer paper from last year. But you can use any Christmas paper. And these measure 4 1/4 by 1. So we're going to just adhere those. I think I'm going to use liquid glue. And then you're going to just set those in these big sections. Just trying to get the borders even between all those square lines. Then on my sample, I did not put paper on these, but I think it would look cute if we did. So these measure 3/4 of an inch by 1. And those will just go, you're not going to put it on this skinny strip because that's where our adhesive is going to go. Like that. And you could certainly do this after your box was together. I think it's easier to do it while the box is flat. But you could certainly glue your box together and then add your paper. A couple more here. Okay. So then definitely before we glue the box together, we want to cut our hole out. So to see where our hole is going to be, I'm just dry fitting the box. I want that to be my bottom, so I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to cut out of this piece right here. And I'm going to use the textured notes dies. And I know this is a little bit too big, but it's what I had that worked. So I'm just going to put that in the center of that. I'm going to tape it down and then I'm going to run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Be right back. Then you can save that. Mine is glued together because I use the liquid glue all over. If you were to just put the adhesive around the sides, you would have two separate pieces. But I like that it's sealed where it's cut out. So now, anytime that we make a box, we want to use a strong adhesive. I like to use tear and tape. So we're going to put a little bit of tear and tape here. We're going to put some here. And then another little piece on the other end. And then on these little sections here, I'm going to put some liquid glue. It's just making sure that was on the other side of the score line there. Okay. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of liquid glue here. And then we can fold that piece over. And then this should match exactly for you. All these other sections are equal parts. So there you have your little cracker box. Now you can just push those in if you wanted to. I actually tied ribbon around mine. This ribbon doesn't tie all that great, but I'll show you what I did. And this is shiny on one side and not the other. We'll see if I can get the shiny on both sides here. So then I just pulled it a little bit tight. Let's see, be easier if I go that way. I'm going to have the center not be sparkly. And then you can just fuss with your bow. And it's not totally in the center, but I think my grandkids would not complain about a non-centered bow. Oh, and this one is on the back side, but you can finagle with that before you pull it tight and get it so that the shiny side of that ribbon is out. And then I'm just going to trim off the ends. And I'm sorry, I didn't even measure that ribbon to see how much that was. I find if you leave it on the roll, you use less ribbon. I did cut it, but yeah. So then you would do the other side as well, or you can just tuck it in like that. So then for the pull tab, I use the mini alphabet dies, and it is one die that cuts all the letters, and some of them it cuts multiples. I had started cutting the colors I needed, but then I just started doing white so that I could use the white ones for any color. On this one, I colored them Granny Apple Green. or you can just leave it. This one I think we'll just leave white, but you could color them whatever color you want. And I did 2 labels. And so we'll put our pull on here. And I just used liquid glue. And definitely, I think it's easier to put it together first. On my sample, I put the tag on the money and then tried to put the pull on there. So I think it's easier if you do it flat. And you could decorate this however you wanted. You could stamp on it. This punch isn't quite as wide as a dollar bill, but I thought it was pretty cute. So then we'll do that. And then what I did was I have another $2 bill here. What I did was I used temporary adhesive. Now this temporary adhesive, it just wipes right off of the money. You can just wipe it off and it comes right off. So I put temporary adhesive there. And then I put my pull on there. I put temporary adhesive on the back as well. And then we're going to put liquid glue up here to hold the tag together. Looks like I have a little bit of and I know you don't see $2 bills very often, but you can go to your bank and get $2 bills. And I would just hook the rest of them on there, roll them up. Whoops. And then stick it in with the little pull out. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you liked my video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye for now.